The Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott's overtime record is skewed, and in this video we're going to take a look at Sean McDermott compared to all the coaches listed next to me, as well as take a deep dive into every single overtime game the Buffalo Bills have been in under Sean McDermott. Multiple articles coming out this week with the headline stating that Sean McDermott is tied for the worst overtime record in NFL history. His record is currently 1-6 with the Buffalo Bills, but again, in this video I'm going to prove to you exactly why that is skewed. We could see here that Elena Getzenberg from ESPN, really this came from ESPN, saying that Sean McDermott is 1-6 in overtime games, including the playoffs, as a head coach. That is tied with Dom Capers for the worst record in NFL history with a minimum of 7 overtime games. Now, getting back to the infographic I made here so we could draw some comparisons between Sean McDermott, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, Sean McVay, John Harbaugh, and also Bill Belichick, we can clearly see that really their overtime wins and losses are not anything special or great to begin with. Andy Reid started his career in overtime going 2-5. Sean McDermott started his career 1-6. I mean, they're really only one game apart. And we all know that Andy Reid is now considered a Hall of Fame head coach and will probably be inducted to the Hall of Fame eventually. And we could clearly see that Andy Reid right now is still just 12-1 in overtime games throughout his career. This ultimately boils down to experience as a head coach. It's clear that Sean McDermott and Sean McVay don't have as much experience as these other head coaches in the NFL. I also broke down the overtime games between 2017 through 2023 since McDermott has been in the league. When looking at Mike Tomlin, he's played 168 more games as an NFL head coach than Sean McDermott, and we could see that his career overtime record is 9-8-2. Between 2017 and 2023, Sean McDermott and Mike Tomlin have played in the same amount of overtime games at a total of 7, and we could see that Mike Tomlin is 3-2-2. Sean McVay only playing one more game as an NFL head coach than Sean McDermott, and we could see between 2017 and 2023, when he first became a head coach in the NFL, he only has a 2-2 overall record in overtime games. Interestingly enough, he's only played in 4 overtime games, where Sean McDermott nearly doubled it at 7. John Harbaugh has been an NFL head coach for 156 more games than Sean McDermott, and we could see between 2017 and 2023, John Harbaugh is 3-7 in overtime games. Throughout his career, he's been 10-12. Bill Belichick being a head coach for 387 more games than Sean McDermott, and we could take a look here. His career is 16-10, and between 2017 and 2023, Bill Belichick has only played in 3 overtime games, and he's 1-2. A few reasons why Sean McDermott's stats are slightly skewed in overtime is: 1, Sean McDermott has not called defensive plays for the Buffalo Bills other than this season alone. Colin Cowherd claiming that Sean McDermott is not going to get us to the Super Bowl or the glory land because he's a defensive-minded head coach. Well, look at what Bill Belichick has done. John Harbaugh is a defensive-minded coach. Mike Tomlin is too. Really, Andy Reid and Sean McVay are the only offensive minds here. But again, these records are nothing to be happy about. In my previous video, I showed you this infographic, which shows you the games within 8 points or 1 possession between 2017 and 2023. Sean McDermott and Andy Reid nearly mirroring one another. So everyone's saying that the Buffalo Bills can't win close games. Obviously, the overtime stats are slightly different, but the proof is that Andy Reid in 1 possession games is 34-32. Sean McDermott in 1 possession games is 28-27. And reflecting back through all these head coaches and really their careers, Andy Reid had Patrick Mahomes. He had Donovan McNabb with the Eagles. Mike Tomlin really was given Big Ben and Ben Roethlisberger. Sean McVay and the LA Rams tossing up all of that salary, restructuring things so that they could win a Super Bowl too. John Harbaugh, defensive-minded head coach, but Ray Lewis and that defense was absolutely insane. Terrell Suggs and Joe Flacco and that entire team was absolutely ferocious. Bill Belichick, I mean, with Tom Brady, the GOAT, the best quarterback to ever play the game, maybe that's why his overtime record was so good. In 2018, Josh Allen was a rookie. We had to draft and develop Josh Allen throughout those years. And when you take a look at these other teams, they had veteran quarterbacks already on their team. Big Ben, Tom Brady. They weren't necessarily tasked with revamping the entire franchise. Their franchise already had a lot of talent. You know, Andy Reid had Alex Smith, and he transitioned to Patrick Mahomes. Mike Tomlin with Big Ben, Jerome Bettis, and all these guys. He had a great roster. John Harbaugh with Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. I mean, they had a great roster. Bill Belichick with Tom Brady. I mean, we really don't even need to talk about anyone else. Point is, Sean McDermott took over a team with Brandon Beane that was in a crucial cap situation. They had to fix the cap situation. We had to move on from Tyrod Taylor, from Marcel Darius, from all these bloated contracts. We had to draft and develop a Josh Allen. We had to trade for Stephon Diggs. You know, we had to do so much on this team. Kyle Williams ends up retiring. Lorenzo Alexander retires. You know, there was a lot that the Buffalo Bills had to overcome during 2017 until now. 2017 was the first overtime game for Sean McDermott in that whiteout blizzard game with the Indianapolis Colts. We ended up winning this game, which was his only win in overtime, 13-7. And I think one reason why this game went into overtime was because of the conditions. And just take a look at what happened in overtime. The Buffalo Bills won the toss. They ended up punting after going 9 plays for 35 yards. They forced the Indianapolis Colts to punt the ball, and the Buffalo Bills get it and score a game-winning touchdown. Really, the first possession in overtime, our offense let us down because we didn't score. And then Sean McDermott and his defense came out and stopped the Indianapolis Colts. And mind you, this was Leslie Frazier calling plays, not Sean McDermott. And then finally, our offense drove down and won the game with that touchdown. The next overtime appearance happened in the playoffs against Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. The Bills end up losing. We can see the Houston Texans won the toss. They received the ball, but Sean McDermott forced them to go 3 and out. They punted the ball to the Buffalo Bills offense. The Bills offense didn't do anything, and they were forced to punt the ball after 9 plays for 13 yards. This was the first time we saw Leslie Frazier play off coverage and play soft, and Deshaun Watson completed a pass to Tywan Jones. Houston ended up kicking a field goal and winning the game. And we can actually see there was a debatable call on this drive on 3rd and 18. Deshaun Watson's pass was for 18 yards on Tremaine Edmonds, who is no longer here, and Siren Neal. I mean, obviously we have better players than that now. The replay official reviewed the first down ruling and the play was upheld. Following season, Buffalo Bills faced Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, and we end up losing to him. What ended up happening in overtime, we could see right here. The Buffalo Bills end up winning the toss, but Josh Allen and this offense goes 3 and out after only mustering 6 total yards. It was a great punt, but Tom Brady ends up going 6 plays, 94 yards, and a touchdown, which then wins them the game. And remember, this was still Leslie Frazier calling defense, playing soft, and a lot of Bills fans were starting to ask questions. Now, the same season, under Leslie Frazier calling defense, the 13 seconds game against the Kansas City Chiefs, this was just bad play calling by Leslie Frazier, playing super soft in overtime. And just to remember, the Buffalo Bills did not even have an opportunity to try to win this game because Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs won the toss. They scored a touchdown, which then sealed the deal. After this year, the NFL rulebook was changed. Another reason why these overtime stats are definitely going to be skewed, because now the overtime rules are changed. Both teams can now get a possession. Following season, with Leslie Frazier still, we face the Minnesota Vikings in overtime. We end up losing. What ended up happening here in overtime. Minnesota Vikings win the toss again. We hold them to only a field goal, but then Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills throw an interception, which then seals the deal for the Vikings. So at this point, it's very debatable looking at these previous games as to whose fault it ultimately was. Was it the offense not scoring on their first possession? Really, during these games, the 13 seconds and playing off coverage, I think that was definitely a problem. Tampa Bay playing a little bit soft. Houston Texans playing a little bit soft. And I think the Buffalo Bills offense still had their opportunities to win the game. And to blame Sean McDermott saying that it's only the defense, well, I don't think that's necessarily true. It's complementary football, and in these next two games, you're going to see why. Sean McDermott, as a head coach and also calling defensive plays for the Buffalo Bills, this is what we're really going to see the true tell sign of how Sean McDermott does in overtime. And unfortunately here, this season in 2023, the Buffalo Bills end up losing to the New York Jets in overtime. Well, whose fault was it here? The Buffalo Bills win the toss. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills go 3 and out after getting -2 yards. We punt the ball on special teams. The New York Jets return it for a touchdown and win the game. This had nothing to do with the Buffalo Bills defense, clearly because the Buffalo Bills defense wasn't even on the field in overtime. Sean McDermott couldn't even call a play in overtime versus the Jets because our offense and special teams let us down. Technically at this point, Sean McDermott is 0-1 really as a defensive coordinator, head coach for the Buffalo Bills, but again, didn't even have an opportunity to showcase his defense versus the Jets. And then last week against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills lose in overtime again, but we all know what happened during this game when you consider all the penalties that occurred, as well as Terrell Dotson's tackle strip fumble that the Bills recovered by our defense, which should have won us the game. The Buffalo Bills won the toss, put the hands into Josh Allen, and we marched down and we kicked a field goal, which is halfway decent in overtime, but we can clearly see what unfolded against the Eagles on this final drive. And let's not forget, this game really shouldn't even have been in overtime. Jake Elliott with the 58-yard field goal in monsoon-type weather. He is actually the best kicker in NFL history, making all field goals longer than 58 yards. You look at Justin Tucker, Sebastian Janikowski, some of the Hall of Fame kickers in the league, their kicks of this length are not even close. You would think that the Bills would play their chances in this situation, hoping that Elliott would miss it. And it's just a miracle that he made it. The point here is that Dotson and Sean McDermott's defense did their part, getting that ball popped out, recovering it in an away stadium, and all the rain that we had to deal with, dealing with a scrambling running quarterback in Jalen Hurst. I mean, this game really was close, and Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott, I don't think is to blame for this overtime loss. My previous video, I'll link it above, you can actually see how this unfolded in overtime and why I think the Buffalo Bills should have won. Yes, Sean McDermott is 1-6 in overtime, but this is the first year that he has been actually defensive coordinator, how he made a name for himself in the NFL. He couldn't even get his defense on the field versus the New York Jets because of that punt return, and then against the Philadelphia Eagles, we made the play that we needed to make, but the refs were just so quick to rule it incomplete, and they didn't overturn it. The Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott, I think, are definitely going to be getting a better record in overtime if we get into more overtimes in the future. And don't forget, Andy Reid started his NFL career as a head coach going 2-5 in overtime. Sean McDermott right now is 1-6. Maybe if the Buffalo Bills defense got on the field versus the New York Jets and Zach Wilson as quarterback, Sean McDermott could easily be 2-5 and have the same record as Hall of Fame head coach Andy Reid. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed all the insight and information I presented in this video. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. That's how you're going to support my efforts for future videos just like this. The proof is there that Sean McDermott is still a great coach. Even the overall win percentages throughout their career, you guys could go back to that infographic. there is not a glaring hole with Sean McDermott. He is winning games. Regardless of the overtime record, Sean McDermott still is doing just as good as Andy Reid. Parity in the NFL has never been better, especially since 2017. In recent years, Sean McDermott to me is still a great head coach and deserves to be our head coach long term. Check the link in the description. We have the Buffalo chicken wing merch. We have this style. We have the Zumba style in black, gray, red, or blue. Free shipping as well. But I appreciate you guys all so much, and go Bills.